Hey guys, it's Mrs. Wallace from the couch. Hope you guys are doing okay in these kind of really unprecedented times. I hope your families are doing okay. Today we're actually going to start a new topic. It's the third of our markets. This is monopolistic competition. So, kind of join me for a couple minutes and we'll explore how this market is, in a way, a little bit of a combination between perfect competition and monopoly. Okay, guys, so this is monopolistic competition. This is the market that we're probably most used to because a lot of the shopping that we might do at the mall and whatnot, even though we're not doing a lot of it now, a lot of those stores are monopolistic competition. Okay, so keep in mind that monopolistic competition is on the scale very similar to oligopoly and pure monopoly. It's an example of imperfect competition. So, really, only perfect competition has a market that has maximized consumer and producer surplus. All the rest of the markets are imperfect. If we look at the characteristics of monopolistic competition, first of all, lots and lots and lots of sellers. So, similar to perfect competition, in that we have a large number of sellers. We generally have differentiated products. So, an example might be coffee. You might have Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, Pete's Coffee, the coffee down the street in Ridgewood. All of those particular coffee shops might be competing with each other. And even though they're all selling coffee, they're differentiated versions of coffee. Some control over price. So, like monopoly, monopolistic competitors actually do have price making capacity. Like perfect competition, they actually have easy entry and exit. So, unlike monopoly, where there's some barriers to entry, characteristics of monopolistic competition is we get firms that can easily come into the market. And most significantly, we have a lot of non-price competition. So this tends to be the market where we see a great deal of advertising, people competing on customer service. Four gas stations next to each other, you might get one gas station that's really emphasizing, the way it cleans your windows, or also has auto mechanic on the side, and maybe offers a little bit of coffee and donuts on those little mini shops. All of those extras are all about, come to my gas station over somebody else's. Um, you can kind of see that we have a lot of things that are very similar to monopolistic behaviors. We have a look that's going to be very similar to monopoly. When we graph monopolistic competition, demand will be greater than marginal revenue. We're also going to see some problems with efficiency, allocative and productive efficiency not happening, and the idea of a price maker. But like perfect competition, you're going to have that idea that if there's profit in this market, some firms are going to be attracted to that, and in the long run, we might see entry of new firms or leaving of firms if losses occur. So there are similarities in monopolistic competition of both monopoly and perfect competition. Okay, like perfect competition, where most of the time in the long run we generally have zero economic profit, monopolistic competition is going to be kind of similar. So it's like the hybrid, of both of the markets that we looked at so far. Okay, so one of the things about the way that monopolistic competition works is that they are really interested in producing goods that are going to compete with other goods because they are not identical. Monopolistic competitors produce differentiated products. And maybe one example that we're all really familiar with would be blue jeans. Okay. If, say, for example, here's my, blue jeans, I really can't draw at all. And, my blue jeans are for sale. I might have blue jeans that are like really special blue jeans, right? They are in a certain color, they have a certain type of fabric, they have a certain type of fit, they're skinny jeans, they're, bell bottom jeans, whatever kind that they are. they're my specific jeans. And if I'm competing, say, with Mateo, right, or Pavit, who each have their own companies for jeans, those jeans are maybe different, even though they're jeans, they're different than my jeans. And so everything I'm doing is trying to differentiate myself from those other jean companies, to show consumers that my jeans are better. And because this is a market where if I'm selling this, kind of cool item of jeans, I have to worry that my consumers are going to see Pavit's or Mateo's or Tyler's jeans as competition. So in order to hold on to my customers, I'm going to be engaged in a whole bunch of non-price competition, right? I might be putting like cool green on my jeans. I'm putting, maybe some other things on my jeans. I'm, going to do a whole bunch of, super buys. There's a whole bunch of ways I might try to make, my jeans a little bit more attractive. Okay, so some ways I might go about and do that. I might try to brand my jeans, okay? And we're all familiar with branding. McDonald's does this really well. Starbucks does this really well. When you see the Starbucks sign, you kind of crave it and oh, I want to go get, that chai tea latte or whatever it is. Brand names and sometimes the packaging itself. Maybe I'm going to make my jeans, in a certain you put them in a certain bag, and there's a certain look about them, or, people get to try them on in a certain environment or atmosphere. And, there's a whole variety of ways that I can make my product attributes and the branding attached to my product really familiar to my consumers. I can also offer a great deal of service surrounding my product, customer service, internet, kind of a website service. People might be able to see it on themselves before they even buy it. A whole bunch of specific services related to my jeans. If you think about what made Starbucks, so successful, largely some of this was about the product attributes. Yeah, the coffee, a lot of it was about branding, and some of it was also about the way the coffee was delivered, right? This idea of going into a place and having the music on and sitting at a table and eating a bagel while you're having a cappuccino. All of that service with the barista and everything is kind of connected to the experience of the product. So a lot of that kind of works together. Location can also really matter. Certainly, if you're competing with a whole bunch of gas stations and you have the corner spot, that's another way that you can compete. That's a non-price type of competition. You can have a better location. And of course, there's advertising, right? With advertising, everything is about the perception of the product, right? So it might be that I have quality jeans and they're better, or maybe my jeans stink and Mateo's are better, but I advertise and I spend a lot of money on a campaign. I have an influencer who's out there putting my jeans on Instagram, and all of a sudden everybody wants my jeans, even if the quality is stinky, right? The advertising is kind of related to the perception of my product. And, there's a few things that we're looking to do from an economic perspective in terms of increasing in increasing advertising. One is that advertising can actually shift your demand, right? So that's one thing we want to see happen. The other is advertising can actually increase the steepness of your demand curve. So we might actually see to some degree elasticity change a little bit as a result of advertising. Okay, so the bottom line with monopolistic competition, this graph is a little bit challenging to see behind this spot right here, but everything about the monopolistic competition graph is such that it is exactly the same as the monopoly graph. If you were eyeballing this graph, okay, we can see, wow, this looks like a monopoly that's making a profit. Even though we can't see all of the graph, you can kind of get a sense that this is a monopoly where there is an MR equals MC is kind of the quantity being produced, the price up to the demand curve, and this is a firm making a profit. Well, it happens to be a monopolistic competitor that's actually making a profit. So that tells us a little something. If you were asked to draw monopolistic competition making a profit, it looks exactly like a monopoly. MR is less than demand, price up to the demand curve, quantity where MR equals MC. Okay, so if we're in a position in this case where we decide that we are going to graph monopolistic competition, if I look here, I know that this is a monopoly that's making a profit, right? I'm sorry, a monopolistic competitor. So they look the same, that's making a profit. And say that this is a monopolistic competitor that's making a profit, and I can see the per unit profit right here because the price is here and the ATC, right there. Okay, so we can actually, shade the profit similar to the way it was before. And let's say that this is Mateo's jeans. Okay, so this is Mateo's jean company. Now, if Mrs. Wallace's jean company was to actually come in to the market, certainly we know we might get entry into the market if there's profit. So, like perfect competitors, if Mateo's making money, other firms are going to enter because we have easy entry of businesses. So I now come into the market. But what happens to Mateo's firm? He is going to experience a loss of demand. Why? Because I have taken a few of his jean customers, assuming that my firm is worth its salt when I come into the market. Okay, so my graph might be over here somewhere. This is Mrs. Wallace's graph. If I'm all of a sudden also selling jeans, we're going to see Mateo experience a decrease in demand. Okay, and as a result of that decrease in demand, you're going to see an MR that's like that. And we're going to see then a situation where the MR equals MC is going to be like there, a little bit lower than it was before. And the new price, a little bit hard to see here, but the new price should be tangent with the ATC curve. In other words, Mateo's demand will continue dropping up until the point where there's no more incentive for firms to come in. If there's no more profits and Mateo's firm is not making any profits, likely there's going to be no incentive for people like Mrs. Wallace to come into the market. Okay, so kind of keep that in mind that while this is very much like a monopoly graph, the long run entry and exit of firms happens as a result of profits and losses. But in this case, everything that happens to the firms that are already in the market will be about the market share, and the way that we measure your own kind of percentage of the market share is really your firm's demand compared to other firms. Because there's other substitutes, those other substitutes coming into the market are affecting your demand. Okay, so this just simply shows what the monopolistic competitor is going to look like in the long run. This would be after the demand curve. So say that Mateo's firm now has the demand curve shift. There's a few things to note. First of all, the quantity is being produced where MR equals MC. The price is going to be up to the demand curve. So that idea of MR equals MC and price up to the demand curve hasn't changed at all. But a monopolistic competitor that's in the long run is always going to see a spot right here where ATC is tangent to the demand curve. That means that this price means the price and ATC are exactly the same. So our total revenue equals our total cost. This is a firm making zero economic profit in the long run. Monopolistic competitors are always in the position of using advertising and the quality of their product to increase the demand so that they can gain the market share. When other firms do better than they do, they're going to lose that demand and they're going to break even. Okay, so this is kind of like the long run default position, because when everybody's breaking even, there's less incentive to come into this market. Okay, some things to keep in mind: minimum ATC is where marginal cost intersects. Even though we have a long run here where we have zero economic profit, note that we do not have productive efficiency. Okay, we have no productive efficiency. This is, for the most part, breaking even, but minimum ATC is all the way over here. The quantity that would be the lowest per unit cost would be this quantity. Okay, so again, just take a look at that long run ATC, okay, and we'll kind of note a few more things about it. And just to kind of give you some of the text, what is it that's really happening here? When short run profits are made, new firms enter. New firms mean more close substitutes, less market share for Mateo's firm and every single existing firm, so the demand for the firm falls. And we'll graph this, but you can also see what happens when there's losses. If Mateo's Jean Company was actually making losses, some firms might leave. Not necessarily Mateo's Jean Company, but other firms might leave. And when they do, there's fewer substitutes, more market shares for Mateo, and his demand might actually increase. So in the long run, right, we're actually looking at what happens in the long run. Firms are going to leave when there are losses. Okay, so in this case, you can kind of notice here, we're looking at a firm, a monopolistic competitor, say this is Mateo's Jeans, and there are serious losses. As a result, some firms that are in the jean business are going to leave. When they leave, this is going to benefit Mateo. We're going to see that demand curve shift right here, and we're going to see the marginal cost curve shift with it, and that's going to increase Mateo's quantity and increase his position. He will not have economic losses, he'll have zero economic profit. So let's kind of look at, how that happens, and what that looks like. So say that we had a situation where we're looking at these losses, here's our loss right here, our per unit loss, and here's our, kind of entire shaded loss right there. What we might see if we had a situation where some firms were leaving because of those losses, what might this do for Mateo? Okay, well, the demand curve, the ATC isn't shifting at all, but the demand curve is shifting. It's going to continue to increase until we get the point of tangency there, and then we're going to see our MR curve kind of also, and at this spot where the MR equals MC, this is our new quantity. Okay, our quantity has increased, and we're going to see our zero economic profit, right? Because here our total costs and our total revenue would be exactly the same. But where MR is equal to MC, that's where the ATC and the price would be exactly the same. So Mateo would make a loss when new firms are leaving, then firms leave up until the point where zero economic profits would be made for Mateo, assuming, of course, that he stays, right? Right, Mateo, you stay in. Okay, and once again, we get this long run monopolistic competitor, right? So this is kind of like the long run. This is after firms have left. This would be Mateo, where he's making zero economic profit. Just keep in mind this point of tangency right here where the ATC curve lines up, again, is not minimum ATC, and also this point of tangency lines up so that at the quantity that Mateo is producing, jeans, is where we know that the price is equal to ATC, okay? Okay, so the key question is, what happens with monopolistically competitive firms regarding efficiency? Okay, what is this going to look like? And here is the bottom line, okay? We do not have either allocative or productive efficiency, okay? And why is that the case? First of all, if we wanted to have allocatively efficient quantity, we would have to use the demand curve. The demand curve is what we're using for price, where P is equal to MC, would be this quantity here. Just like in Monopoly, there's a socially optimal or allocatively efficient quantity. In this case, because MR is less than demand, we're always going to have a quantity that's less, so the quantity is going to be lower in the monopolistic competitor. The other thing to think about is it is not productively efficient. Okay, why don't we have productive efficiency? Because we're not producing where the ATC curve is at its minimum. Okay, rather, we're not productively efficient because the price is not equal to minimum ATC. Despite the fact that it's equal to ATC, it's not minimum ATC. So monopolistic competition is neither allocatively efficient or productively efficient. Okay, so if we look at this graph, which is the default position, it's the long run, the way that we see the monopolistic competitor in the long run. Just for a moment, ignore this kind of this note up at the top about excess capacity. We'll talk about that in a sec. But the really big takeaway here is that monopolistic competition is not allocatively efficient. We would note allocative efficiency would be the quantity that is right here, where the price, as expressed by the demand curve, would be equal to the marginal cost curve. That's not the case. Only this socially optimal or allocatively efficient quantity is really only the case in perfect competition. In our case, because the marginal revenue is less than demand, just like in monopoly, we're producing a quantity that's not allocatively efficient, and as a result, we are indeed going to have a deadweight loss. This triangle right here in the middle is representative of that deadweight loss because we have lost consumer and producer surplus, and we have transactions that are essentially not happening as a result. We also have something called excess capacity, which has to do exclusively with productive efficiency. So let's look at that. Okay, and in case this wasn't clear before, excess capacity is something that you might graph like this, okay? This is a description of what excess capacity is if you're asked to show it. Where's the excess capacity? Again, it's not a dollar amount, it's a difference between two quantities. With deadweight loss, we were interested in the difference between the quantity that the monopolistic competitor is producing and the socially optimal quantity, where P equals demand. Excess capacity is not about allocatively efficient and this quantity. It's actually the difference between the quantity that's being produced and the quantity where there is least cost ATC, where there's least cost. That's really what we're looking at. We are not producing as lean as we could. We're not making every single resource, useful as possible. We are including some excess capacity, and this is the quantity that we're actually producing. So we might have some seats available in our restaurant. We might have, an extra oven that we're not really using in our bake shop. We might have some, kind of idle machines in Mateo's Jean Company. That is excess capacity. Okay. However, lots of times economists will argue, on one hand, excess capacity is inefficient. We would say, terrible, right? Economists would say that's inefficient. It's not as good as perfect competition. However, we as consumers, right, when you go to the mall and you buy jeans, we get a great deal of choice. So that choice that we get, it's not easy. We could get more production. We could get jeans made faster if we didn't have so much of a variety of them. But yet we want the variety and the choice. So we compromise, in a sense, a little bit of inefficiency so that we can get some of the choice that we want. So we can buy Mateo's jeans in all their cool fashions. We expect that we would have a little bit of efficiency. It requires a lot of kind of cost, extra cost, in an effort to make consumers have all of that available. Okie doke, I hope that was helpful, guys. Have a good rest of the day.